I'm Matt from Full Send Engineering, and this is episode number 2. Now, I'm very excited to introduce a very special guest here, Argot Ansons. Argot is someone who clients trust to deliver some of the most complex, challenging, and some of the biggest projects this country's seen. He earned his stripes in mining and later moved into tunnelling and infrastructure, and he uses his sharp focus and determination to become a powerhouse when it comes to decision making and driving these projects forward. But what I appreciate most about Argot is his adventurous spirit, which allow him to be an absolute mentor and someone that people really look up to in the industry. So welcome to the show, Argot.
Thanks, Matt. Well, it's great being here.
Now, it's Saturday here in Sydney and it's 29 degrees outside and you've travelled an hour and a half to be here.
That's okay. It's
Mate,
easy.
The commitment.
Come to see you, Matt. Come to see
commitment.
you. I like your energy, Matt.
So I appreciate you coming here, Argot. I think you got some really good stories to share and some really good insights. I've learned a lot from you and I hope I can really share that with people out there in the world. So I appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday to
No
come
problem.
So I really wanted to start with your adventurous spirit. And I was thinking maybe a point to start would be some of your early adventures where maybe they helped to shape the way that you think now.
Early adventures. One that really stands out is the first time I went overseas. And I was in my early 20s and I agreed to go overseas with my girlfriend. And we were going for 1 year. And I like planning things and to a lot of detail. And I also, I can overthink things. Got a very active brain. But on this trip, you're going overseas for a year, you're planning where to go, you're reading books, you're studying where to go, etc. And one of the really silly things that sticks in my mind still to today is I was worried about how many pairs of socks and how many pairs of jocks to take. As if there's no shops overseas, like trying to get everything right.
I'd be worried about.
But it's just like, it was such a silly thing, but, not having done it before, you're going, oh, how do I get this right? And you learn, you just figure it out as you go. Like you have a basic structure around what you're going to do and you get going and then you work it out as you go. And there's a couple of lessons and learning from that trip overseas. One was, doesn't matter where you go, there's the same cross-section of people. There's some beautiful people, lovely people, there's helpful people, there's some not so nice people, there's some aggro people. There's all sorts of different people out there. There's shysters who want to take advantage of you, all sorts of stuff happening. And every country's got a mix of those people. But certain countries have more of one style or type, and other countries have more of the other type, and that comes to the culture. And say, for example, places like Thailand, with a Buddhist background, just full of beautiful people. Like I still met, one or two little difficult people, but on the majority, it's just a beautiful, beautiful culture. And other countries have a few more difficult people. And you just go, it's the same everywhere. There's just all these different types of people. And if you're in trouble or you've got a problem, there's always someone out there that's going to help you. It's not like you have to go over there and think the world's going to be like a totally challenging or something's going to go wrong. It works itself out.
Yeah, completely.
And if you've got the right attitude, you find beautiful people, they look after you, you meet lovely people, you have beautiful conversations. And if you've got that attitude inside and you're going out for adventure and having fun, you meet other people you can associate with and have fun with. You attract that energy. So that trip was a real sort of going from being quite shy and quite, sort of quietly spoken.
Yeah.
To actually opening up a bit and being in control of what I'm doing, going out there and doing things and being in control of my life and having to budget really tightly to make the money last for 1 year.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And make the whole trip last. It was a really, really great experience. And like I recommend for anyone, while you're younger, go and travel. Just get out there. Don't do a Kentucky tour and just go bang, bang, bang. Just go out there and do stuff and travel on buses.
Spend time on the road.
Yeah.
What is it that you think about those moments where you're kind of a little bit out of your comfort zone that really kind of pushes you and changes you as a person?
On that side, like my view of that is we can sit inside comfort and security and just bubble along and be happy, or you can actually always push yourself to get outside your comfort zone, and that's the only place you learn. When you step outside your comfort zone, when you go to new places you haven't been, you make mistakes, things happen, that's when you're learning. You have to actually push. You have to have adventure. You have to take things by the, bull by the horns. I can do this. I can do that. Have a go. And that is really where you're developing yourself. You're developing your character. You're learning. You're making mistakes. Things haven't worked out. But if you've got a reasonable amount of planning, you've got a good intention, you're open, and you're going to apply yourself, you're going to learn.
Yeah,
and that's how you grow, is going out there and grabbing stuff and doing it. It doesn't matter if it's an adventure or doing new things at work or growing in any area, different people. That's where you're growing, going out there on the edge and stretching the envelope.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about coming in contact with lots of different types of people. And I could just imagine, you kind of like refining your way and your approach on how to interact with people and how to get the best out of people. Sometimes you're tossing up how to actually interact with people, because sometimes there's a language barrier or there's other things that are in the way. Maybe, you're in a country where people don't understand what you're trying to say at all,
And that's we're all wired different, and we all, seek out different things. But for me, I've always been interested in people and in interaction and the management side of things and leadership, and read books about it and studied it and looked at it and tried things. And I've had the opportunity to lead teams from an early age, made some, quite ridiculous mistakes and things, but, I've been lucky enough to have some wonderful people around me.
Yep.
And the mining side, it's a beautiful, close-knit family. And you make some silly mistakes when you're a young engineer. And then every time something else was happening, they'd make a bit of a joke about it. Oh, can you go get some of that Argot mesh because you've ordered the wrong mesh? And the guys are doing something. They just stir you up and give you a bit of a dig. And it's sort of the school of hard knocks. But, if there's good people here, the knocks aren't too hard. They still give you a little bit, And people who actually test you, give you a bit of a ribbing for getting something wrong. That's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's wonderful. So in same with the travel, it's just all sorts of people out there doing all sorts of different things. And if you've got self-reflection, you can look back at things and go, okay, what did I do in that interaction that worked well, and what did I do in that interaction that didn't work well? And if you're always looking at that and refining how you operate and learning skills, you get better at interacting with people and understanding people.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I feel like one of the things that we don't do as engineers and as people enough is actually reflect on our careers and what we've done and the decisions and the things that are actually working well. And I know, in preparation for this, when we've been chatting, you're like, gosh, when you look back on things, you look back, you're like, geez, I actually got a fair bit done, and it actually fills you with like energy and passion. You're like, damn, that was really good,
Totally, because it's the reason I like engineering for me is you get to see the result. You put this effort in, you got planning, you're working with people, you're doing stuff. There's blood, sweat, and tears, and you've got an outcome you can physically see. And one of the fun things about a big infrastructure project, there's lots of challenges there, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But part of the rewarding part is you actually get to drive through a tunnel that you were involved in, or you go past something that a building got built or whatever, and it's going to be there longer than I'm going to be around.
Yeah,
like it's going to be there for 100 plus years.
Yeah,
and you're involved in doing that, and you're giving something to the community that they need, and you're helping deliver it. And it is that fun side, So, but you mentioned about the the engineering side, and that one of the things that my view is, in our universities and that we focus so much on the technical side and planning and bits and pieces, but there's less really on the people side.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with, one or two other really successful engineers that have become managers and leaders, was that we go into engineering because we love our maths and science and playing with things and numbers and doing stuff and building things.
Taking things apart.
Yes. And if you can put it back together, even better. Yeah. But then the realisation that you're actually dealing with people, it takes it a while to do that. And that's actually a lot more challenging than the engineering part.
Yeah.
Because people change every day.
Yeah.
They've got different personalities, different backgrounds, all this input into their making. Yeah. And they're also individual, whereas engineering can be quite a lot easier than actually dealing with people.
Yeah, completely. And I think I feel that where that comes out is, I've interviewed at a few different companies in my life, and you can really tell the managers that get it. Mm-hmm. You can tell the managers that, you get some managers you come into your interview and they've got drawings on a table and they ask you to highlight grades and, work things out technically. And then you have other managers where you roll into the interview, have a coffee, and they're like, come and work for me.
Yeah.
And like the managers that do that really understand that they can teach people anything if they're open to it and if they've got the right attitude, But sometimes when there's obviously got to be critical and technical focus on engineering. Like there's no doubt you have to be smart to be able to do some of the stuff. But I also agree that it's not all just 100% smarts, because if you can't communicate with people, you really struggle.
And that's the thing. Like, I've realised quite some time ago. You look at these. I'm working in construction, so I use construction companies as an example. Like anybody can go out and buy some nice shiny construction equipment. Big yellow diggers and trucks and whatever.
Yeah,
anyone can do that. Anyone can go and buy software and computers and bits and pieces and all these fancy tools. But it's only people that deliver it. And the people who are operating in a great frame of mind, who've got skills and the right attitude and work together, can do anything with that equipment. You grab a great team and you give them a piece of, broken down equipment. Okay, they'll still get there, but it's not going to be very efficient. So you need both.
Yeah.
But it's the people that make it work. And any mug can come along and buy the equipment. Any mug can come in and start pretending to be a leader and yelling at people and barking orders and stuff like that, which I've seen a fair bit of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people don't get it. It's a lot of managers don't get it, unfortunately, or leaders don't get it. It's the people, and it's how you use those people. You can get a really good outcome from your people. You can get an average outcome from your people.
It's really about unlocking that potential in people.
Yeah, totally.
So you mentioned mining before. So you started out in mining. Is that right, after you got your degree?
I did start out in mining, and the one really good thing about the mining industry is even to graduate, I had to get a couple of months' worth of work underground as a miner.
Yeah.
I couldn't even graduate uni unless I had that work experience at the face.
Oh, is that right?
And then to become a registered mine manager, I didn't have to, and I didn't necessarily need that piece of paper for my role, but I did it anyway, and I did it twice, once in Queensland and once in WA. But to actually get that certificate, you needed 6 months in and around the mine working, which meant, doing hands-on work in the mine, development work, etc. And when you work with the guys and the girls that are on the tools and you're out there in among it doing it, you actually get what's going on.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I learned from a very young age was that there's this position they call it, the Gopher. Go get this, go get that. They would run around and get stuff for the miners and feed them.
There's always the one person that people rely on to do stuff.
Yeah, getting stuff for things. And what I realised too is it didn't matter where you went in the organisation. If you're like, the project manager of a site or the managing director, you're the king gopher. You're getting the stuff so people can do their job.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. There's a bunch of people out there building stuff, and only when they build stuff do you get paid. The company gets paid. Everybody else out there is supporting, the guys and the girls on the tools who are building stuff, digging holes, pouring concrete, putting Rio in, mining, drilling, blasting, and producing the ore. Everybody else is there to feed those people, keep them safe, keep them in a good frame of mind, keep them fed, healthy, and then you give them good equipment. And you've got the support, the training, and if you're leading them properly, you're elevating them to a place where they're actually using their maximum capabilities to do a really good job. That's when things work. And but you learn in the mine, those people at the coalface were the ones who made the money for the company because you got paid when you broke dirt, and everybody else was supporting them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you don't realise as you progress up in your career, you realise that the people that are doing the work, they're the ones that you've really got to foster and make sure that they're humming.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you use the analogy where you're almost like their servant in a way to make sure that they're ready to do what they do. They've got their gear. They've got all their safety stuff sorted out. They've got, the right equipment. They've got they've got time to do it. That's really your job as a manager and as a leader.
And like an engineer, a good engineer on site works really close with a superintendent, knows exactly what's going on, when it's going on, when he needs this, when he needs that. And the superintendent's just running the guides and doing things and what do I have to do next? And the engineer feeds the superintendent and the troops. So the engineer needs to have the concrete ready, the Rio ready, the bits ready.
Yeah, completely.
And it's like an analogy when you're running a relay and it's a 4x100 metre relay. The guy who's running doesn't look back for the baton. The guy who's running knows the batten's coming and his hand goes back and the batten's there and he keeps going. Like, that's the perfect way to run a project. Like, if the engineer's ready and he knows what the superintendent wants, as soon as the superintendent needs something, bang, it's in his hand, he goes. He needs some concrete, bang, it's there, he starts pouring concrete.
Absolutely.
He just runs the blokes, keeps them safe, keeps everything going and in order out there for it to work. And the engineer just feeds that machine. And good engineers get that. And it's just, anyway, that's just...
It's a good, great way to look at it. So, there's no doubt working in mining, it's super high pressure, there's high stakes. It's really a melting pot of pressure and you've got to make sure you've got your wits about you. I imagine you came across some pretty hairy moments or some life or death scenarios. Can you maybe tell us about some stories that really challenged you and maybe some of your key learnings from those?
It's a good question. There was a lot of situations in my mining experience which were really close to being, people not being here. A lot of pressure on myself running projects because your troops are your family.
Absolutely.
Like, you look after them. Like, you got at camps. You're feeding them. You're flying them in and out. You're looking after their welfare. You're looking after their safety. You're looking after them, psychologically if there's dramas at home and that sort of stuff, and having conversations. They're your family, so you're responsible for them. And if you look after them really well and you enable them to do their job, they enjoy their job and they get something out of it and they perform really well. So one situation I can think of that really challenged me and I learned a lot from was we're on this project and I grew up in an environment whenever you did drill and blast and you did like a tunnelling or a drive face, the guys went in with hand scaling and scaled the rocks before they did bolting and people went in to work.
So maybe for people that haven't been involved in mining, can you just describe to them what scaling is?
So scaling's when you actually got a bar and it's like a big long, it's not a thick like a crowbar, but it's still a scaling bar. It's a piece of metal. It's sort of, hexagonal bar. It's got a little sharp point and you put it into the cracks in the rock and you lever it and you lever rocks off the roof or the crown of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And you're taking all the loose rocks off that got loosened as the blast occurred to advance the tunnel.
To make it safe.
And then they bolt it and you make sure there's no loose rocks hanging up there and then people can go in there and after they've bolted it and drilled it, they can charge the face and there's people working under that ground. But the process of scaling is you're walking there underneath or you're trying to work from good ground to bad ground, but then you're scaling stuff in front of you. And as a young miner working underground in Western Australia, like you're just following the miner there and helping him out. And seriously, there'd be a drive as wide as this, room here and not that high. And you've been walking under this rock for like a fair while. And then the guy goes, we better scale this down. And he gets here and starts scaling it. And something the size of the car bonnet comes down. This probably weighs 3-4 tonne. Just goes doof. And it lands, 1 metre in front of you. Just goes doof. And you go, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Big bit of rock.
And you got used to that sort of stuff being around you. Anyway, so coming back to this story, we're doing this scaling was part of the process. And then this location, instead of little drives, we're doing this mining where you're actually blasting the ore out over quite a wide distance, might be 30 metres wide. And you've got rock cover over the top, but in front, it's all been blasted away. But the size of the blast creates some really big pieces of rock on the edge there. And the guys had to go in and scale that down. And they're inside this basket, which is probably twice the size of this table or 3 times the size of this table. And it's on the front of a 966 cat loader. And it's lifted up by this cat loader and the guys work inside the basket. And they're lifted up and it's maybe 4 or 5 metres in the air. And they're scaling, doing this scaling to get the rocks to come down. And on one occasion, this massive rock, probably weighed, 4 or 5 tonnes or maybe more, came down and landed on the front of the basket.
Jeez.
And it pushed the whole basket down onto the ground and the whole, the back wheels of the loader came up in the air and then the rock slid off because it's leaning downwards and then the basket comes shooting back up again and the back of the loader drops down and the guys luckily didn't get thrown out, they didn't get crushed, whatever, like really, really scary. It could have been so easy if that to come in and just crush them and they're gone. And we had an internal discussion with the management and the miners and that sort of stuff, and we decided this is bullshit. We got to do it differently. We got to change to mechanical scaling. And it was fairly new to the industry, but we decided to use the drilling jumbo. So the drilling jumbo does the actual drilling forwards of the drill holes where you put the explosives in for advancing the tunnel face. So this thing would come in, and the guy, you got a guy who's then 6 to 8 metres away from the danger zone instead of being right there, hammering the ground with his drilling jumbo and putting drill bits in his water, washing it, and all this rock comes down. It comes down in front of him. Anyway, we decided to implement this. That's it. That's the only way we're going to do the scaling. And my boss, the general manager of the company, he's almost like God. Like, he's very, very smart, and what he said was what happened. When I told him that's what we're going to do, the first reaction was, "Oh, bloody hell! If you damage the boom on a jumbo, it's going to cost $60,000 and da 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 da." And I'm going, okay, $60,000 and I've got a broken boom, or somebody who's squashed, seriously injured or dead. Like, it's a no-brainer when you look at it. When you actually go through it and you start seeing a whole new way of doing it, and you see the difference, you go, crikeys, why were we doing it that way before? But that was the done way. So I had to actually push against him, like a serious boss who hires and fires people and quite scary, and push back against him. So that was an absolute challenge for me to do that.
Yeah.
But I had to protect the people, and I made a call against the advice of someone who's knows a lot more than me, saying, "No, we're not doing that. We're doing this." And that protected the troops, and I stuck to my guns and I stuck to my resolve, and it worked out okay. And that was probably one of the biggest stepping stones for me to push back on senior leadership and say, "Nah, we're not doing that. We're doing this." And you just know that it's the right thing to do. You're not going to keep doing the same way when you keep putting people into such dangerous situations. You just got to change what you're doing. That was a really big lesson.
And do you find in these situations, like, I kind of have this sense that in mining particularly, there's a way of doing things, and that's the way we've done it for the last 50 years. And when you're kind of challenging that approach, you're kind of almost undermining someone's credibility, or you might be really pushing into something that other people don't know about. Like, how do you manage that situation where, potentially you could be training people to do something for the first time a particular way,
It is challenging because people have been stuck in their ways and keep doing it the same way. So, I've come from a period where the mining industry would have had a pretty poor safety record, particularly in the contracting business. And I worked on a project where if we had 30 days lost time injury free, the guys got a prize or a gift. 30 days LTI free. Like, that's just unheard of. That's terrible. So we had to go from where we were to better and better and better. There was a safety meeting once a month. So if there was a problem, it could have sat there for a month before someone actually raised it to management. And someone who was a bit older and grey, who was introducing us to new safety systems, had said to me, and he named some of the top, shaft sinking or mining superintendents around Australia, and he's probably named 5 or 6 on his hand, and he'd go, he's dead. Like, they all got taken out at some point in time because there was this cavalier, we can do this type of approach, look how strong we are, get down there, boys, we can do this, da-da-da. And it didn't work. Eventually people got taken out. So to change and work with people to change to somewhere better and a different approach, there were people who pushed back against it. But the overriding thing was really just coming up with systems or processes to keep people away from the danger zone. So there's still ways that they get the job done effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
You just had to work out ways of doing it where people weren't in the exposed area. And one of the things was coming up with, the process, no one works from under unsupported ground. You're always working from supported ground, which means the ground above you's got, mesh or shotcrete and rock bolts and things, and it's safe. And using machinery or methods where the people are back here and working out forwards and making that ground that's been blasted or cut, whatever, and could be loose and dangerous, you're doing it from supported ground.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't actually be under supported ground, then you have to have some sort of a metal, very strong metal cover over you to keep you safe.
Cab of it.
But those introductions of those methods, people just take it on board and make it work.
Yeah.
Like the mechanical scaling example I had before, when you say we're not going to do this or we're going to do it that way, they go, okay, and then they just make it work. Yeah, they're still achieving the same result. We're still doing all the other things the same way, but the safety and the way we do it, the guys make it work. So when you make the strong decision, you go, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it another way. The guys work it out. The team down underground work it out.
Yeah. It's amazing how they'll work it out and it'll make it happen. they could do it an unsafe way without all the practices that you learn and stuff that you do, or they could do it a new way to make it safe. They're still going to work it out and they're still going to make it happen.
Yeah.
You just have to choose which path that guys take.
And that side of, like, you know, when you've been around for a little while and you've had a chance to run a few projects or, you know, be leader of, you know, various teams, you can run it this way and you can run it that way, you can run another way, and you actually get the experience of seeing the outcome. And you see things that work and you see things that don't work. And that's how you also develop, you know, the experience you get on leadership, and you understand things work better this way than that way because you've done it both ways.
And you've seen the result on both.
And you see the results. And that's part of learning too. Like, you can't necessarily read that in a book, and you can't just get it just like that. It takes some exposure and having a go at things and doing it different ways to see.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then I kind of wanted to talk through your shift into infrastructure and tunneling. And I kind of wonder, you know, that the approach to the projects are quite different, really. You know, quite different approaches to safety, quite different approaches to ground risk and things like that. How did you find that transition when you went from kind of mining into tunneling and working on more like civil infrastructure projects?
It wasn't that hard because there's still engineering, there's still processes and procedures, there's still the planning and, you know, documentation and getting things done. But the mining side of things was probably not as precise as civil tunnelling.
Yeah.
You know, civil tunnelling's a bit more precise. Mining's a bit more just get the rock out and, you know, and you know, do the development to get to the ore and then blast the ore and get it out. So there's a bit more, it didn't have the same precision required as the civil side. But I was lucky enough to work in a lot of shaft sinking and equipping the shafts and then putting underground crusher stations in and that.
Okay.
That was high precision.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the steelwork in the shafts had to be plus or minus 1 millimetre.
Wow.
Like, it was really, really highly precise. So you still have to work within those tolerances in certain situations. You just had the right people to do that work for you.
Yeah, some really tight tolerances that you work with. I don't even know if you can get survey up to 1 mil. Wow.
No, you don't do survey. You run a plumb bob from the top to the bottom.
Oh, is that right?
And you got like piano wire, and you got like a really big heavy weight at the bottom of it.
Wow.
And you put the weight inside a bucket of water so the weight doesn't move around. It stabilises.
Oh, you measure off the weight?
No, you measure off the string line. It goes from the top to the bottom. It's vertical.
Oh my God.
So that you got your four wires hanging down, and the guys just use a tape measure.
That's crazy.
Setting their steelwork.
That's absolutely insane.
It is pretty insane when you look at the blasted rock of a shaft, and you look at the steelwork, and the shaft's got overbreak, whatever. Still getting it to the exact right spot is absolutely amazing.
Wow, that's great. That's crazy. Yeah. So I also wanted to, you know, for the time that I've known you, you've kind of been known for someone that can get momentum on a project where other people can't. And I kind of wanted to ask you about your process. So if you've been brought into a project, or if, you know, things are particularly stuck, how do you actually go about your process to get things going again and start getting momentum?
There's a couple of things in there, but, you know, the approach is there's a bunch of people there who have been trying to build something and they get stuck. You know, for whatever reason, it's in a situation that it's stuck, you know. And I'll use an analogy. You've got, you know, some people, we'll take guys, they're probably worse at this. You know, there's a bunch of guys in a car. They're driving through some foreign city and they take a wrong turn. They're trying to get to the airport and they take a wrong turn. And then they start yelling at each other and who did this and why did you do that and da-da-da. And they're looking backwards. They're not going, how do I get to the airport? So often I come into situations where people are stuck, you know, things aren't moving forwards and people start looking backwards. Who did this? Who did that? And they start trying to point the finger and lay blame. And it's a bit of a human character that, you know, most people, all of us really have. But you have to take them out of that frame. You go, okay, where are we? Like, actually, what intersection are we at? So you ask the questions to the team and they tell you, okay, this is where we are. This is what we got to do. Where are we going? Oh, we have to get to that location there. We've got to produce that result. We've got to, you know, build this building or whatever. So you take them out of the looking backwards. You go, where are we right now and where are we going? And it's as simple as that. Like, it's a really, really simple. But you do it through questioning. And the people answer it themselves. And they go, instead of looking backwards and trying to blame each other and ducking and weaving, they actually come together again. And the whole team suddenly going, oh, we know where we're going. And we know where we are. And they answer that question themselves. And I can sit in the meeting once and I ask those questions and I get them to frame that in their own minds where they are, where they're going. And I come to the second meeting and it might be some slight reinforcement, but it's amazing how people take that on board. And I haven't told them what to do. I ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. They answer it themselves. They own the answer. They own where they're going. They own what they're doing. And I can almost step back and it just happens. Like, it's amazing how it's just rearranging people's brains from we're here, we're going there, off you go. And just make sure there's no sort of, conflicts, whatever, and egos, you temper that stuff down. But once that team's got it, and they own it because they came up with that themselves.
Yeah.
And off they go. And in the other parts, if it's a really, really difficult situation, like something's really gone wrong.
Like a crisis or something like
A
that.
crisis on a project or whatever, and you come in and you never go in there guns blazing, blah, blah, blah. You never criticise anyone. You have to start to engage with people you have to fully engage with people and ask questions. What's going on? What happened? Where are we? Etc. And you have to give them some space for this. People will vent, or they might, tell them about their fear, or they've lost their mojo and this sort of stuff and that sort of stuff, and he did and she did and whatever.
Yeah.
And you engage with all these different people, but you listen. You have to really engage with them so they feel safe to talk to you. And then you take that information and go, okay, this is where it's at. You can start to make some decisions going forwards. But just going back a step, while you are engaging, you also give some encouragement about, look, we'll get through this. It's okay.
Yeah, give them a clear
picture. You give them a clear picture that we'll make this work. Not sure how, but we'll fix it. We can fix anything. We just got to get back together as a team, and we'll fix it. You can build anything. You can do anything. Look at the human race. So you give people that encouragement. We're going to get through it. And take them out of that brain space where, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Did I make a mistake? So it's that managing that anxiety. You give them expectation. We are going to get through. You collect the information. You can start to make some decisions on how you go forwards. But I do a lot of research before I make a decision and go, that's what we're going to do going forwards, because there's lots of inputs to that.
Yeah. I think on this topic, as an engineer, as a proud engineer, everyone's actually pretty proud of stuff that they do, And when there's something that's happened on a project, or maybe when there's things are not going the right way, it really knocks you. And like I know for me particularly, like I really associate like who I am about what I do and the way I do things. And when things aren't going well, it makes you feel like shit. Like,
and we like we all have that. Like, some people more so than others. And I think that's some sort of, internal wiring or internal drive to make us keep growing and getting better and get to a better version of ourselves. It's all part of growth. Like, there's this inner wiring in us that just keep going out there and wanting to grow and be better and be a better version of ourselves. So we do have a inbuilt wiring that, tends to beat ourselves up a bit if it's not how it should be. So when you're coming in as a leader, and I have that the same thing. I question myself and I have a go at myself as well. We all do that. But when you're coming into a team, the really, really important part is to make it safe for people to say, oh, this didn't work. Permission to make mistakes, I've heard, is a really good saying. But if it's safe to say, we stuffed up here, you got two options. You can have a go at someone, and then they're going to shut the lid, and that's it. The last time you're going to hear from them. Or we can say, okay, what are we going to do about it? And then you help that person be responsible for a solution. You again ask questions to get them thinking about stuff, or you bring someone else in to help, or if you've spoken to so-and-so, can we do this and do that? When that person then becomes responsible for fixing up a bit of a mistake, they themselves learn, okay, you make mistakes, but you can get through it and keep going.
Yeah.
And they gain confidence that, okay, so what if we stuffed up? Let's just bloody change direction and keep going.
Yeah.
And the really, really good people have been around for years and seen, disasters and things and worked through it. When you get a disaster, they come in so calm. They go, okay, let's do this, let's do that, because they've been around, they've seen it, they've been through those bloody hard knocks, they've been through questioning themselves. They're the ones that come in and help you out. And a really, really, really important thing to me is you don't have all the answers. No one does. But if you're going to go out and get advice from anybody, you've got to go out and get advice from people who've been in that arena, doing what you're doing, have been through the hard knocks, have had mistakes, seen shit happen, seen hard things happen, and keep going. Those people have been through all the same steps that you're going through. They know where you're at. They know where your thinking is because they've been there before, but they've gone past that point. So they can objectively look at where you are, what you're thinking, and help you take the next step. Like there might be many, many steps to get to where they are, but because they've done it themselves, they can actually help you. They're not into their ego. They're not into big noting. They're not into sort of, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
Those people don't help. The academics who read a book and think they know but have never done it themselves, they can't help. So people have been in the arena, going through the hard knocks, being blood and sweat and tears and mud on them. They can come back and they're humble and they say, okay, let's do this. They're the ones you learn from. And they elevate you because they've been there in that same difficult place themselves.
And they've learned some stuff. I think one thing I've learned a lot working with you is, when it comes to leading people and leading a team, there's this balance that you need to take where you're kind of shielding the team from maybe pressures and things from above. You're helping the team with decisions. I kind of wanted to ask you about what does leading a team from the front actually mean to you? Like, I know what it means to be in your team, and I've felt the way that you guide people and you're kind of fostering the best thing out of them. But I kind of wanted to ask you about what it actually means to be a leader for you and what it means to try to get the best out of people.
So it's very interesting. There's a few aspects to that. But as a leader, like your role is you're actually sitting on a perch. You're a bit higher than everybody else. So you need to be able to see more than other people and see where to go and sort of take people in that direction and get to that destination or location. And if you can't do that, then you're going to be exposed as a fool. So there's some pressure there. But then being able to see where to go, you're taking information from the client, people above, community, all sorts of stuff coming to that melting pot. And then as a leader, we need to get there, but you have to manage all these other stakeholders and to do all these other things. But you want to keep that pressure away from your team. Like, might be certain parts of your team deal with that and certain parts deal with that. But you don't overload them with all that stuff. You just got to go, this is where we're going to go, And then someone's doing a bit there, someone's doing stuff there, some other people are doing some stuff here. And you're leading them through that to get to that destination. And then in the background, you've got to manage some anxiety because other people are worried about it. Other people are getting questioned by their bosses, where's this, where's that, how's it going? So there's that. Managing the anxiety, managing expectations of other people, giving them enough information to keep them quiet. But if you keep the team just focusing what they need to, that's the most effective part of the team. Now, when I was working on your project with you and previous projects and that, and you got this office and you're walking through and there's 50 people or 100 people, and when everybody was working effectively, I used to get absolute buzz. I just walk the other end of the office and you're walking back through again and you just see people talking to each other. You see engagement, you see energy, you see it's vocal. There's things happening. It's not just people sitting in the corner doing their thing. There's discussions and that. And you can tell by the people's faces and you can tell by their energy they're having a good time at work. They're enjoying it. And when you get that, it's an absolute pleasure. Like it's absolutely, you think this team's working great and you're doing the right thing because, we spend a lot of our lives at work, a hell of a lot of our lives at work. So why shouldn't it be somewhere that's fun, safe, rewarding to be and work, when you're doing that and engaging with your colleagues and things like that. So when you create that environment, which includes lifting people up to a higher level, so they're operating at a high level, when you create that environment, it is really, really satisfying that you've done that for all these people. And I'll take it further, probably from the community side of things. Each one of those people, or most of those people, have got a family, wife, kids maybe. Yeah. So they're taking that a better place they're in, positive place, good mental attitude, work satisfaction back home. And that's being delivered to your family and your extended family and in their friends. Or you could take something that's really toxic back home, which some environments are in, and you're taking that to other people and passing it on. So as a leader, you're responsible for a lot of people who then take some positive energy, and that's going into the community as well. So, while you're here, while you're doing stuff, like get involved, lift everything up to a lot better level. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Yeah, I think it's really like evident when you're working in a team that's really humming, I think that it really does lift everyone, and I think everyone does really, go to a place that together you can get to a place that's much further than just a place where you're just sitting down and doing your own work and not sharing your insights and not kind of talking or doing anything like that. So that's a really good insight. Now, I also wanted to ask you, when I worked with you, Argot, it was really clear that clients trusted you. And, you're not someone that sacrifices on requirements, but in some instances, you might be going into a meeting or going into a room full of people that are maybe opposing your opinion. And I was wondering, when you're going into those instances where you're kind of walking the balance between getting the best for the project and also maintaining trust with the client. And I wanted to ask you kind of some of the tools or some of the tricks that you use to make sure that people still trust the outcome in what you're saying in these kind of quite high pressure, high stakes environments,
No tricks.
That's a really good point.
We don't play tricks. And also, I tend not to. I try and go into every single meeting, every interaction with a blank piece of paper in front of me. If you can go in there with no expectations and no predetermined outcome, like there's that the project needs to get here, there's rules, there's safety, there's this, and there's all of the other stuff in the background that supports the way the project gets delivered effectively and safely. But you come into these meetings as a blank page and you ask questions and you listen. Because if you go into preconceived expectations to anything, you're blocking off messages from other people or things that they're concerned about, and you're not able to respond to it. You're trying to just drive it down a certain outcome or drive stuff down people's throats. And it just doesn't bloody well work. And I've sat in meetings, like there was this, I remember sitting in Hong Kong, and we're doing this really highly technical piece of work. We're tunnelling, like a couple of metres below it, an operating railway line, the main operating railway line between Hong Kong Island and Tsim Sha Tsui.
Wow.
And you're sitting in this meeting, and there's this big long table, and I deliberately sat on the client side, and there's the team on the other side, and they're doing the engineering thing where they're telling the client how good they are and how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that, and I'm going, that's just sales pitch, And then I asked the question, I'll never forget this. I asked the question, what does MTR think? And this whole bunch of people, they leaned forwards and looked at me. There's about 10 people that just leaned forwards and looked at me going, someone's actually asking me a question. And it was
What
like,
did they think?
wow. And then they started to say what they were worried about. We said, okay, we've got that. Okay, we'll look at that. We'll come back to you on that one. And you answer their question. You've actually listened to them. It's easy to answer their question because you've got it covered. But we haven't demonstrated how. And we didn't know how to answer the question because we didn't ask it.
Yeah.
So they had a concern, and you can come back and say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Okay, we make sure that's done. And our guys, the team, could then come back and go, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then the client's team, the engineers and managers, whatever, go, okay, we're comfortable. And everybody was comfortable. But it's that engagement there. So I don't go to meetings with a predetermined thing. I go to meetings with just open to listen to what's going on. And to add to that, so many times I've been in meetings with, and this is where I think the clients have learned to trust me. I go into the meeting, and you're just looking at what needs to be done for the project, and your team, the guys, the girls, whatever, they could be going dunk 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 dunk. This is what we want to do, and the client's subject matter experts will be going dunk dunk dunk. This is what we think, and you keep asking questions, and the answer becomes obvious. Sometimes your own team working for you are wrong. And you have to then say, hey, so-and-so, what the client's saying is right. We need to do this. What are we going to do about it? And you don't slap or have a go at anyone, but you actually say, we're going to fix it. It's okay. You're right, Mr. Client. Spot on. It was a good meeting. You've pointed something out. We're not doing it. Go and fix it. Or then you'll keep challenging the client. So, where's that coming from? Is it a personal opinion? Is it subjective? Is it correct? And you challenge them as well. So, hang on a second, that doesn't sound right. We covered this, da-da-da. But it doesn't matter who it is. You challenge, because there's no right or wrong, good side, bad side. it's the right answer for the project.
Yeah.
And that's what goes through. And the client starts to trust you on that. But the other thing too is if you say you're going to do something, integrity, just bloody well do it.
Yeah.
And if the team says they're going to do it, back it up. Just have you done it? Have you done it? Have you got that to your client? Make sure that they see that we're doing what we say we're going to do. And that generates confidence. I think the integrity is a really big piece in how we operate.
Yeah.
We do what we say and think.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point. And, I must admit, I've worked in teams where we push hard against the client, and I've worked in teams where we bring the client along the journey. And
how's that working for you?
Well, to be honest, even in some of the teams that I've worked in where we're having 2 meetings a week with the client and we're showing them everything, we're being really honest, warts and all, about what's happening on site, what we need advice on, particularly what we need the client to help us with, what we need the client to focus on to make sure that we can get to the end of the project. And I think that it's really important to have everyone around the table. And that's exactly what you're saying. But I've really seen the difference between when there's hostility between the client and the team, and how it really you're just butting heads, And then the difference when you've brought the client along the table and you've aired out all your nasty secrets, and this is actually, hey, this is where we're at. This is where we need to be in 6 months' time to finish this job. So I think it's an amazing kind of skill, bringing people along the journey and doing that.
It definitely works better because they all have obligations. They're all getting measured and looked at what's happening. They're getting questioned why that's not working. Why is the contractor out on site not doing what they're supposed to do? Why is the production down or whatever? And their bosses are getting measured as well. So there's all this anxiety, all this stuff coming through. And if they're engaged, they can help.
Okay, they can actually see what's happening, and then it's not like they can actually see where we're at. There's no like ifs or buts about it.
Yeah. So that interesting that we have to maintain boundaries, that the client isn't crossing over into boundaries that that's your role to build it, and the client's role to support that and do what the client does. So you have to make sure people stay within those boundaries, but they're fully informed and can see what's going on. And that probably leads to me to one thing that, the number one thing, and this is just straight out engineering, it's straight out mathematics. Every single human being has so many productive hours in a day where they can think clearly and have capacity to do work and analyse and produce results. And that's it. And then the next day you come along, and if it's really, really heavy that day, you're probably less productive the next day and then less the next day. So in that, let's just say you got 6 hours of really productive work inside us. If you're in a conflict and you're having arguments with a client and there's all this sort of argy-bargy and you're trying to keep things quiet or play tricks or whatever, you're spending a fair proportion of that 6 hours over here in that, guarding your back, covering things up, trying to manipulate, having arguments, having arm wrestles for contractual issues. Some of that happens at times, but you've sort of got to keep that to the side as much as possible.
Yeah.
But the more that's happening, the less productive time you've got of looking forwards and working out how to go and deliver this project as an individual together with your team and being productive. And it's pretty straightforward. You could have 500 people on a job. Imagine if you're only 50% productive. Do you reckon you're going to make money?
Yeah.
No way. If you get those people focused, you keep the noise out of the way, we're just going to build this thing. Come along, Mr. Client, we need you to help out and feed this team. And if everybody's focused going forwards at 80, 90% capacity, or even more so, if you're good at looking after your team and they feel like empowered, engaged, having a great time, and they want it to work, you'll get discretional effort. And you won't just get 90%, you'll get 110 or 120% out of a really good team. And you say, like, if you do the bloody mathematics on it, you've got 500 people on a project working at 50% because they're all pissed off and you've got a shit culture.
Yeah.
Or you've got 500 people and a lot of those people working 80 and 90 and some are up 120%. Do the maths.
Yeah.
Like, that's why projects go poorly and that's why projects go well. And it all comes back to that. But there's not many people out there that actually see that and get that. That's where the money's made. That's where the productivity's made. That's where the safety comes from in how you're working with your teams and leading your teams. It's not about just looking at, arbitrary numbers on a spreadsheet. How come you didn't get that? It doesn't work that way. You get the whole team moving, and that's a consequence of how the team's going. The output, the safety, the productivity, the profits, all that stuff is a consequence of how well you're playing the game. And so many people are stuck in the reporting and this stuff over here. We need to get there. We need to get there. It's like saying I need to get 20 goals to go and win the grand final. That doesn't work. The only way you win the grand final is playing the best bloody game you can as a team, the most cohesive team you can, playing the best you can. Then you've got a chance of winning. But if the other team's playing a bit better, maybe you won't.
Yeah.
But you're rocking up as the best version of yourself, the highest version of yourself. You're playing together as a team. That's what produces the results. And so many people, so many businesses are focusing on the results. That's a consequence. You got to be doing the work back here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you must have seen some real lessons. You must have had some real lessons in your life and in your on the projects that you worked on. But I wanted to ask you about this interface between really pushing hard to meet a program and doing really, really quality, good work, right? Because I think a lot of companies get kind of caught up with chasing program and trying to get out as quickly as possible. And then at the end, maybe when projects come to completion or that phase of the project, you start unraveling all these issues. And I wonder if you've got any kind of like lessons or maybe even stories that have taught you the right way to do things.
That's interesting. A lot of lessons myself, but there's a lot of literature out there about this and how projects are delivered well and how projects are delivered poorly. And most of what we do, especially tunnelling work or even building a road, it's sequential. It's I don't want to demeanour it, but it's a sausage factory. You're going doink, 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 and you keep going. And you excavate a bit, you're putting up ground support, you're doing this, and you keep going. So it just becomes a production line. And you have to do that effectively and well. If at any one point in time you haven't done one of those steps properly, it stops to go back here and fix it. And that is so negative to the actual production of the project. You have to fix things as you go. And I've seen it time and time again. People are trying to get their targets, trying to get this, trying to get that. And then the pressure goes on that and the pressure's taken off doing it correctly. And you end up with more and more of a drama. And the experience I've seen when we tunnelled, we tunnelled 9 kilometres and stuff that should have been getting done along the way got left behind. And they spent a month and a half doing it on project critical path, whereas it could have been done as you're going by putting some people onto that particular task and getting through it and still finishing on time. So people ignore that, and it absolutely 100% worse for the project to come back and fix things. And I've seen projects overseas, but more so around Sydney, not ones that I've been involved in, but here. They finished building a lovely big freeway, and there's bridges and there's bridge abutments, and they didn't do it correctly for whatever reason, something that wasn't done right. And it starts settling the bridge abutments before the bridge. And they go back in and it takes them 6 months to fix it and $100 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And all the people are going, yeah, we finished the job, we finished it early, rah, rah, rah. And then it costs them hundreds of millions of dollars another 6 months to come and fix it. Like the consequence of not getting it right is huge. So you stop. The other thing on that is when you instill that in your team, and it's exactly the same with safety, when you go, this is a non-negotiable. We're going to get it correct, be safe, and then we go. The guys will work out how to be fast. And I keep saying guys, that's just an old habit. But yeah, the team, the guys and girls down underground, they're going to go, this is how we go fast. But you put a that's non-negotiable on it, and that comes from the top. That's the culture. Same with the quality. No, let's just get this right.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, go out there and get it right and fix it. And they go, oh, geez, we stuffed up that, but let's not do that again because it's a pain in the butt and we have to fix it. Off they go. They don't do it again.
Yeah.
Because they're realising that's not acceptable. Whereas there's a culture that allows that to creep in. Your safety goes down, your quality goes down, everything goes down. The client, starts to get frustrated because they can see things going up, lose trust. The team gets a bit, It's just it's not a good place to be. You'll always go faster by setting the high standard, and people will still be able to do it.
And fixing things on the way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a really good point. I think that a lot of people can learn from that. I think it's really important that we try to focus on making sure we get things done the right way the first time, because let's face it, when you're a couple of weeks from completion and you're looking at a list of defects,
it's scary.
It's proper scary.
And some poor person's going to go, hey, go sort this out, and it's mission critical because you have to open the project.
Yeah.
And the other people left it behind. They're long gone. They're on another job somewhere.
Oh, you almost read my mind. So I also wanted to finish on your most important take-homes. And I want to structure this question in a way that, if you could give advice to yourself, 20 years ago, or give advice to a budding grad that's at the start of their career, what have been your big leadership take-homes and what are your big lessons learned?
For the younger people, just get here and have a go at everything and ask questions, and don't just sort of do your job and sit back and twiddle your thumbs or play on your iPhone. Get out there. What are you doing, Matt? What's that? How does that work? What is that? Can I help you with that? Can I do that spreadsheet? Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? You go and follow the superintendent around on site. What are you doing that for? What's going on here? And they'll, decent people answer your questions and keep feeding you. And you're learning from other people, and you're learning faster. But if you're sitting back and just doing your job and going, oh yeah, what's the world going to give me? The world won't give you sweet FA, because you got to go out there and do it and try things and have a go and make mistakes and do bits and pieces, and that's how you learn. It's just by getting engaged and doing stuff and doing more. And that please don't go down that attitude of, oh, what do I get out of this? You get experience, you get knowledge, you get life experience and growth of this thing. And that's the thing no one can take it away from you. That's with you for your whole life. Doesn't matter how much money or houses, whatever you got. Yeah. What's inside your character is you. No one can take that from you. And that's what you earn. That's what you build. That's what you do by getting out there and having a go. What are the other things too? So probably going beyond the graduate when you're looking at the leadership side of things, and even even younger people too, like the engineers still have to go out there and lead teams. Yeah. The real big thing with leadership is the confidence. Like you're getting confidence comes from having some experience and know that works. But confidence without clarity is a disaster. Absolute disaster. You go rah, 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 and get everyone sort of pumped up and sit in the back room, do all this sort of da da da, and going out there, we're gonna kill this one. We got it, And if you don't know what you're doing, it's just a disaster, absolute disaster. You need clarity on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how to execute, and you go, okay, I know, let's go. That's what we're going to do, and that clarity doesn't come from just reading a book or just coming out of uni. That takes a bit of experience. And going back to my previous point, getting out there, having a go, trying things. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, trying it. That did work. You start to understand what works. You get clarity of where you need to go. You've got your homework. You understand the client, the environment, the stakeholders, your contract, your company. You've got clarity of where you're going. And you go, okay, we've got this. Then the confidence comes in to also get the team going. And it's fantastic. You get a really good outcome. But so you have to have the clarity. Now, let's say you haven't got the experience and you've got to do something and it's sort of fairly new. So, okay, go and sort that out. You go, oh, okay. The clarity comes from knowing I'm not going to do that unless I understand it, or I talk to someone who's done it before. There's people around that can help you who have done it before, seen things, etc., and you can pick their brains. And again, going to those people who have done it hands-on before, the humble ones that can do it. So then you can get in there and take advice from people, set it up, and off you go and you're doing it. But you're getting clarity from others, but you're also getting clarity on what doesn't work. So clarity is, like not undermining safety, not undermining quality. Some of those things are just clear in your brain that delivery needs to be done the right way and efficiently, in that right way, and you work through to it. And you may not necessarily know clearly exactly how to get there, but you get going. Be like travelling overseas.
Yeah, exactly.
Just started and you work out things along the way. That's what we're there for. We're engineers. We solve problems. We get something, go, okay, what do we do with this thing? Okay, the next step. Okay, what do we do with that? We're working through. But there's some fundamental basics there that give you the clarity. Okay, within these lines here, we know it's going to work. We'll just work out how to get there. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because that doesn't work.
And I wanted to ask you, how do you balance that kind of, because I think in other words, what you're saying is you work out what's going to happen on a deep technical level. Really got to understand the details, right? But you've also got to have this big picture thinking, and you've got to know how to guide the team and take people places. How do you balance that? That really deep technical expertise, and when you're really diving deep into something, a lot of managers shy away from really getting into the detail. How do you balance that kind of?
My view is you have to be able to get into the detail. You have to be able to get into the weeds and see what's going on. And there's a really good story. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a guy who took over Alcoa maybe a decade or 15 years ago or something. Alcoa worldwide was a disaster. He worked out a way to get down to the coalface, even though he's managing this massive, huge company, and he had a system to get to the coalface and find out what's going on from the actual guys doing the work.
Wow.
He used a system of where he said the company's safety record is not that good. Every single time there's an accident, I want the people who were involved in that to come and tell me what's going on. So he could bypass all the layers of management, all the filters, all these people trying to say the right thing and do the right thing.
And convolute the story.
And it just changes. You go bypass to the guys at the coalface and they go, why did this guy get his arm caught in this? Oh, because the machine kept getting stuck and this didn't work. We had to take the guard off to go in there and push the piece of steel through with a thingo, and the guy got his arm caught. Well, okay, fix the friggin' machine, and they spent some money on it, but the management were told, you have to make money, don't do this, don't do that, da-da-da. And they didn't spend the money on fixing the machine. So this guy goes, fix the machine. Bang, productivity went up. The workers go, this guy's listening to us. Their productivity goes up because they're getting listened to. You have to get into the weeds. So for me, I listen for key words that people say, and you can hear from different people involved in the same process or same area. You can hear that there's a disconnect. Not everybody's on the same page. You hear the word, I think. It means they don't know. They're just trying to fill in the space.
Yeah, you did catch me on that many times. Do you think or do you know?
Yeah. Go and see it yourself. But you get into the detail, and when you've actually gone to the detail and you get these really smart people, and it's like all these other people are heaps smarter than me in that detail stuff, and they go dum 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 dum. Okay, that's under control. You can just leave it alone and go somewhere else. And when you look at somewhere else, it's not quite, doesn't feel right. You can get into the detail there. You go, okay, it's not quite right. You ask the questions, you challenge, if you get some help, and if needed, once that team sort of got it under control and they've got the bull by the horns, off they go. You don't have to worry. It just happens on its own because these people know what they're doing. It's just about hearing, listening for stuff, listening for gaps, listening for inconsistency, knowing that it's not quite there, the team's not quite there, everyone's pushing, and they haven't actually slowed down to get the basics right. You've got to go into the detail to see that. And successful people do that, and the best leaders I've seen actually can get into the detail and know what's going on and understand and you only see whether it's real or not by getting into the detail.
Yeah.
Because if you sit back and just look at numbers and filtered versions of what's going on, it's you're not going to be able to do it.
Something I've been really saying to myself lately is that it should be simple, right? If something's not simple and you don't understand it, then someone needs to describe it to you in more simple terms. And I've been coming across this a lot recently where people are describing things to me in ways that make me even more confused.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this isn't confusing.
Yeah.
Tell me what's actually happening, And I think it's really important to really acknowledge, in engineering particularly, if someone can't describe something to you in simple words, then they're not doing their job right.
They don't understand it. And then it's our job to help them understand it better as well, because people want to look like they know what they're doing. They don't want to go, I don't have a clue. Like that's a scary place to be.
Completely.
So people are wanting it. So you don't necessarily go, you know what you're doing. You go, okay, tell me more. What about this? What about that? And you ask questions. You can tease it out of them. And if you see that they don't really quite get it, or they haven't got what they need, or there's a blockage from somewhere, then you help unblock it, or you get someone else to pop in, or you get them to talk to so-and-so. Hey, so-and-so, can you give them this? And you help that person, you elevate that person to a place where actually they do get it, they understand the job better, because if they understand the job, they're going to be delivering it properly.
Yeah,
if they don't understand the job, they're going to be doing something that's not working. And again, when you hear that or you see that, you just step in there and you work with it to fix that situation. Once that's done, that's happening. Once that's done, that's happening. Once that's done, that's happening.
Yeah.
And you get into the weeds to do that and you fix them one at a time. When the whole team gets where they're going, what's going on, off it goes. The team just starts marching forwards. That's leadership.
Yeah.
That's getting the team to do the work rather than you trying to do it yourself.
Not hiding behind some technical jargon. You're really getting into the weeds and understanding it in simple terms.
That's why I break through that stuff. That's why I sit in meetings with the client and our team. And if you just hear stuff that's inconsistent or doesn't make sense, you keep diving into it till the answer comes out. It is simple.
It is simple.
It is simple, but there's lots of noise out there. There's lots of noise.
You got to find ways to cut out all the crap and get straight to the bit that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And my last question for you is, I know that you've been a mentor to many people out there, Argot, and I know a lot of people look up to the way you do things and the way you interact with people. And I was wondering, what do you take out of it? What do you take out of mentoring people? What is it for you that you know, when you're sitting down with someone and you're helping them through things and you're helping their professional career? Because I know as a mentee how much I get out of those conversations and you know, I kind of see it as like an orange and you're peeling back the skin and you're getting into the really juicy stuff, you know? What is it, as someone who's been around the traps and been mentored to many, many people out there, what is it that you take home from those conversations with people?
People chase all sorts of stuff out there to make themselves feel good, you know, adventure, sport, money, houses, cars, travel, whatever. But the real satisfaction you get is in giving. And the real satisfaction you get is just seeing, and it's just like you do when you've got kids as well, you're just seeing this beautiful human being who is inquisitive, has got a fire inside their belly, and they want to show me. I want to have a go at this. I want to get out there and do stuff. And you're helping steer that. Like, you know, they've got a fire inside their belly. They want to grow. They want to become a better version of themselves and flower. You're helping that. It's absolutely tremendously satisfying to see people grow and going from, to, seeing them flower and getting out there and doing stuff. And you're just helping the whole, like, we're contributing all the stuff, all the hard knocks, all the stuff I've been through, all the stuff that's gone wrong and I've learned and things that have gone right. You can help other people to get, to a lot better place. It's tremendously satisfying. And then if you hand it up to them, they don't ever want to, not want to. But if you don't see them again, it doesn't matter. You've just introduced a human being or helped a human being within this planet who's more productive, more assertive, more helpful to other people and that, and goes out there and does stuff. Like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, why would you want people to be down here? You want people up here. You want everyone to flower and contribute and be fantastic. But the contribution you give to people and seeing them grow and expand to another level, that is really, really satisfying. Like, that's just it's more satisfying than building a project. Like, it's great seeing the project built, but seeing people go to this new place of confidence and clarity in how they approach things and how they think, how they approach problems, it makes life simpler for them and all the other people around them. That's just tremendously satisfying.
And I think I can see why people look up to you, Argot. Look, this has been a really, really great conversation. I think we've taken a lot from the way you lead teams, the way that you don't look back and you look forward and you're driving teams forward. We've looked at how, you kind of balance that technical edge with being decisive and earning trust with clients. I think it's been a really, really good conversation, and I'm sure people online will really appreciate that. But I did want to give you one thing just before we say goodbye.
Oh.
This is your very own Full Send Engineering T-shirt, Argot.
Thank you.
I wanted to say thanks for coming into the show and making time on this Saturday. So thanks for coming in. And if you like these type of conversations, we've really unearthed a lot of learnings today and a lot of lessons learned. So if you like these type of conversations and you want to listen to more, please like, comment and subscribe. This is Full Send Engineering, episode number 2. Thanks for coming in.
See ya. Thanks, Matt.